a very important and interesting discussion that will arise following our publishing the discussion paper that is in preparation and which I would have hoped would have been published before now, but which I am assured by my officials, the context of work being done, that we can have published by the end of May at the latest.
Mr. Van Turnhout.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you. Thank you, Cathaoirleach. I do warmly welcome you to the House. I even more warmly welcome the words that you've shared with us here today. It's clear that your commitment to the issue, and maybe just to take a little bit of a reflection. You know, along with my colleagues, Senators Cohn, McNeill and O'Brien, we tabled this motion this evening, and I know much has been made of the 6 months. I suppose my understanding was within that 6 months the consultation process would be complete. And that's my role, I think, is to be a little bit impatient and to be urging things to move in a constructive way, not in a destructive way. In drafting the motion that we put forward today, we were very conscious of what happened in the debate 6 months ago, because actually 6 months ago we asked for the legislation to be brought forward to criminalise the purchase of sex. And we actually very much have listened, and that's why we today are asking for the clear timetable on the consultation and clear steps of what approach government will take. And Minister, you have done that. You have done that to us. For me, it's just important also, and we did have a debate last October, but you know, the more you immerse yourself in an issue, the more you understand and appreciate. And that's why my colleague, Senator McNeill, talked about bearing witness, and I think it is important that we bear witness. For me, the most frequent argument that I've heard against or call to government to criminalise the purchase of sex is that criminalisation would violate a woman, or indeed a man's, right to self-determination over his or her own body. And I've not come lightly to the issue. I've done my research, and I can't agree with this argument. When we peel away the complex layers of how and why women and men sell their bodies for sexual gratification of others, it's clear that their path into prostitution did not start with a simple exercise of self-determination. The research shows us that a significant number of women end up in prostitution as a result of poverty, debt, homelessness, addiction, having been groomed by a partner, family member or friend. Many are there by force. And the sex industry in Ireland, as my colleagues have outlined, is inherently exploitative. It's characterised by coercion, whether through violence or economic hardship, which renders free and informed consent to prostitution all but impossible. And those who argue in defence of prostitution on the basis of consent, I think, should be mindful that the age identified internationally for entry into prostitution is 14. An age which, Minister, I know you will agree, consent cannot be given. I spoke during the October's debate about the devastating effects of prostitution on the physical, psychological and emotional welfare of those involved in it, and how unimaginable the impact is on children and child victims of trafficking. And we can talk all day about reports, findings and statistics, but the most important evidence of the need to introduce legislation we're calling for is, for me, the personal experiences that women and children are experiencing here in Ireland. And Minister, I just want to say, I really do acknowledge your approach, and I think, you know, a commendable approach, and I know that's your character, to listen to all the different perspectives, and I think that is important about the consultation process, that you will listen to all perspectives. And both when I was preparing for 6 months ago, and also for today, I tried to listen to all perspectives. But the difficulty is, I have met with victims, I have offered to meet with those who present themselves to me through email correspondence with sex workers, but I cannot get a meeting. So I just want to put that on the record. Like, I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to talk to people, to listen to different perspectives. But I think often you get an email, but there's actually no. When you try and follow it up and go back to people, it's not there. Minister, some of the personal stories for me, and I haven't put these on the record before, but they were actually lodged with the Department of Justice and Equality's Anti-Human Trafficking Unit in September 2011 by the Children's Rights Alliance, but these are from just recent years. One case identified a 17-year-old girl, rural village in Sudan. She was introduced to a Nigerian man by a family friend who promised her an education in Europe. The man brought her to Dublin via Manchester and Belfast. While travelling, she was told to assume a Nigerian identity. She was given clothes, boots and a bag of condoms, and to do anything the clients wanted. She was forced to have sex with a minimum of 4 men a night. In another case, a 16-year-old Romanian was brought to Ireland illegally, and within a few months she found herself living in fear of the man who brought her here. For 2 years she was held captive and forced to have sex with men in flats throughout Dublin City. She was subjected to frequent beatings, became pregnant and had a miscarriage when her pimp punched and kicked her in the stomach. She eventually escaped these horrific circumstances and went to the Guards. Another Eastern European girl came to the attention of the Gardaí, who were called to a house in Dublin by neighbours. She was taken to the hospital by ambulance following a beating by a man who had held her at the house and had forced her to have sex with 200 men. It was subsequently emerged that she was 6 months pregnant. She informed guards that she had been taken by bus to Spain before being given a false Italian passport and trafficked into Ireland. So for me this is a really real issue, and I've no doubt the organisations who are working with victims could give us so many case examples. And cases like these, for me, do show an intrinsic link between trafficking, organised crime and prostitution. And the findings from the 2 recently televised investigative documentaries on organised nature prostitution in Ireland, I think, support this link. I'm not saying they're always linked, but there is a clear evidential link. And while I recognise that there are legislative measures currently in place to tackle human trafficking and organised prostitution, they don't sufficiently appreciate that link. Furthermore, I believe they're clearly not working. Sexual exploitation of women and girls and men by organised criminals is rife. I believe we must deter demand for prostitution. There is an integral part of the fight against organised crime and will reduce human trafficking. I actually see the merit of the Swedish model, which criminalised the purchase of sex. And for those who actually look into the Swedish model, rather than operating in a punitive fashion, its existence alone has acted as a significant deterrent to the purchases of sex and has reduced prostitution and associated crime considerably. So in ending, Minister, I want to say I warmly welcome the commitments that you've given here today. You've given us a very clear timetable, very clear commitments. I do understand the briefs that you're holding, Minister, are quite wide, quite serious issues that you're dealing with, and I also appreciate the upcoming EU presidency, and I'm very aware actually of the justice portfolio and how wide a brief that is also within the EU presidency. So, Minister, I will not be on the day, on the 31st of December, be getting on to you to say, hold on, Minister, you said. We're just trying to keep this issue going. We can feel what those who are in the industry, it's every day it's happening. So I will be impatient, and I won't be apologetic to be impatient. But I do welcome your commitments, and that, along with the government amendment, hopefully we can all work together forwardly on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Batrick.
Thank you, Chair, and I'd like to welcome the Minister to the House and welcome the opportunity to have this debate, or to renew the debate, because of course we had a very full debate on this issue 6 months ago.